actually, Linus, is the first step. That is an amazing instigator.
No, I love that idea of writing a story. And you're right. Writing is a wonderful, wonderful resource that many of us don't use anymore.
Right.
I talk a lot about gratitude journaling. And one of the things that I like about gratitude journaling is not so much that I want to toot my horn about all the wonderful things that happen to me during the day. As I told my listeners, sometimes my gratitude journaling is the sum total of one sentence: I'm grateful for nail polish. I mean, because it was just a sucky day, and I couldn't think of anything, you know.
Yes.
But the reality is, as you start doing more and more gratitude journaling, it's amazing what comes up, and it's amazing how it crafts your life, and you find not only do you have many things to be grateful for, but things start happening during the day. At least it appears that way. But also, our mind starts looking for things that you can write about at the end of the day. And the next thing you're looking for it, and it's coming. Seek, and you shall find. That's a very, very basic principle. And it's just amazing. So when you talk about the writing piece, that really resonates with me. I can understand why that's so important. You talk about in your process about the need to connect the dots. What does that mean? Why is it so important to connect the dots?
Because it goes back to the blueprint that I spoke about before, Linus. The reality that we've been sold, if you like, is just so far away from the truth that it's not funny. And what I think is really important to understand is that, and I say this to all my clients, just turn the TV off for 1 month and it will change your life, because it forces you to have imagination. And when you have imagination, what happens? You ask questions. You want to get further, deeper and deeper and deeper. And you silence the mind. When you silence the mind, other things come to play. You can hear other, intelligence coming through that actually gives you ideas, motivates you, inspires you. And so connecting the dots is to truly understand nature, the galaxy, your body, God, all these different aspects of our beautiful, wonderful existence on Earth, and to truly understand what they all mean. The other day I was walking in the park. We have a beautiful park across the road. It's similar to like a Central Park type of a setup. It's just divine. Big trees, lots of grass, etc. As I was walking through, Linus, I was walking down the footpath, and there was just a line of unbelievably gorgeous trees that were over 100 years old. Big, strong, big branches, green leaves, because it's summer here in Australia. And so as I was walking on this path, I stopped just for that one moment. And these trees, almost, I could see the trees with their branches open. It was as though their arms were open and they were welcoming me. Okay, and they were saying, welcome, welcome, welcome. And,
welcome.
Right, and as I walked through, I stopped and I said, and I asked, and I just asked God, allow me to hear the heartbeat of these trees. Allow me to become one with these trees. I want to hear the heartbeat of these trees. And I was so focused on the tree that as I was walking through, I could just have this shiver down my spine because I could feel the energy. It was unbelievable. Now, I'm just giving you that example because nature gives us all the answers that we need. But we need time to understand what that means. And connecting the dots simply means that we have to educate ourselves on what the meaning of life actually means. And it starts, as I said before, with understanding who you are from a physiological standpoint, a biological standpoint, and a neurological standpoint. Those three components are fundamental. Once we can grasp the power of who we are as a body and a mind, when we go to the next step, what does conscious mean? What does subconscious mean? What does superconscious mean? And then you go to the next step. How do I change my beliefs? What's going on? How do I control my mind? What do I need to do? What does meditation mean? How is a tree and an animal and the sun and the moon and the sky and the galaxy and the universes, how is all this relevant to my existence? So connecting the dots, Linus, is not reading one self-help book. As a yogi once said, it takes an individual, approximately 100 years to at least understand the meaning of life, or 30 years studying full-time, day after day, to learn the meaning of life. That's a long time, Lennis. And that means that there's a lot of information that we have no idea about. Because why? Because we're stuck in front of the TV and dumbing ourselves down. That's what connecting the dots means. We've got to take that. We have to take control of our destiny, and the only way you can do that is through knowledge. And that is why I'm so passionate about mystical teaching, is because the knowledge is science, which science is proving what mystics have been telling us for hundreds and thousands of years. But mysticism is science. It's just in another language, another tribal language. That's all it is.
You know, what's interesting is that I just got through writing a blog about spiritual wellness, and one of the things that I talk about that is necessary to embark on that journey of spiritual wellness is beginning to allow yourself to really know what's going on and notice what's going on with nature, because nature has something that's very in common with us. We're not more superior than nature, because we depend on the same things in order to live. We depend on water, we depend on air, we depend on sunlight, the same things. We're not that much more evolved than the trees and the ants that we watch fall across our toe. And it's interesting because you're right. When you're out there in nature, when you allow yourself to really connect, it is amazing. And it really does humble you in such a way where you begin to realize, how small you are in the rhythm of life. You are definitely a cog in the wheel of progress. And you can either take an active participation in that wheel of progress, or you can continue to just be a cog and move along. And many times we begin to think that because we might have the trappings, and it's interesting, that's a good word, trappings of success, doesn't mean that you actually have that spiritual wellness and the things that you really need to really live a joyful life. You can be materialistically successful, but that doesn't necessarily mean joyful. Those two do not necessarily coincide. In fact, many times they don't. If you don't have that spiritual wellness component in your daily regime. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that. You also mentioned something else that you said in your studies that's so important. That has to do with the subconscious mind. You mentioned that just now, and how that decodes your attempts to try to program yourself. How do you bypass the subconscious mind? How do you go about training the subconscious mind to not act as a filter that keeps you from the good messages you're supposed to have or supposed to get?
Well, the first thing is, Lena, that we can't even get near the subconscious until we actually clear our emotional state. That is the fundamental first step. There is when people sell the whole notion around affirmations, throw it in the bin. If you're in a serious a negative emotional state, affirmations will actually be detrimental. They'll actually do the opposite. So that's why we've got to stay away from affirmations and learn how to actually write affirmations the right way so that we can actually bypass the conscious mind. But before we even get to that point, we need to really figure out how we can start clearing those negative stories that are creating, dis-ease or disharmony in us. That's the first step. The second thing is that the subconscious mind is amazing. I love the subconscious mind because it plays an unbelievable role in one's life. It is the if we didn't have our subconscious mind, which ultimately is our soul that is speaking to us, what happens is that is what protects us from actually from going crazy. Since the conscious mind is linear and it can only deal with one thing at a time, it's the subconscious mind that steps in and says, whoa, Mary's getting overloaded here. I need to step in and ease her pain so she can get on with her day. So the subconscious mind is an amazing friend to us. It's the one thing that we must learn. The second thing is that the subconscious mind doesn't understand language like the way you and I understand it. It understands it in code. Especially in the Hebrew, Aramaic, in particular the Hebrew, I always refer to King Solomon, for example. King Solomon worked with a lot of sigils, a lot of coded symbolism and numbers and all this sort of stuff, because that plays a huge role in our subconscious mind. Now let's have a look at at things around the world and the symbolism that we're confronted with day in and day out worldwide, not to mention on TV and TV advertisements, they're all based on symbolism. Why? Because the subconscious mind understands symbolism. Now, repetition is what cements a thought or a belief in the subconscious mind. So if you're watching TV every single day and you're seeing that ad 10 times a day, every day for 30 days, that's become a belief. Whether you like it or not, you actually believe in that. So what we need to do is understand how to write affirmations. Now, we don't write affirmations like, I am wealthy, because if you're not wealthy, the conscious mind will say, well, you're not wealthy. So then the subconscious mind says, oh, the subconscious mind told me that I'm not wealthy. So can't say that. So imagine repeating that affirmation, I am wealthy, 1 million times in 1 month. Your subconscious mind is receiving not wealthy. See how it's detrimental?
Right, exactly.
Got it? Now, if we say, each day I'm getting closer and closer to making $1 million, the conscious mind says, hey, that's cool, because guess what the subconscious mind hears? $1 million. I'm close to become a millionaire. It says our subconscious mind is hearing a millionaire. So see the difference? The whole big difference. So when we write affirmations, we need to collaborate the conscious and the subconscious so they can agree on an affirmation. So if we say, each day I am losing 1 pound in weight to get to my goal weight, then the subconscious mind hears goal weight. So isn't that fantastic? And the conscious mind says, hey, I can deal with that. What's 1 pound?
That's interesting that you gave that example, because I was going to ask you, well, how do you write an affirmation that's effective? What's the right way? Yeah. So what you do is you use coding that is based on truth. You use coding that's based on something that the subconscious mind will know is attainable, that can resonate.
Exactly.
Positive messaging that's true, not positive messaging that sounds ridiculous.
Exactly. Absolutely. And Linus, and here's the thing with affirmations, okay, and this is the part that we can't quite fathom. When we write affirmations, it is critical, and I mean critical, to set the intention first by writing it on paper. It is so I can't tell you how critical that is. We must set the intention on paper. Write it as though it's already happened. Describe it. Feel it. Get into the story of that of living that desire. And then we do a very short prayer, or we set an intention, and we ask our, whatever you want to call it, God, source, whatever you call that life force energy, you ask for that intention to come to fruition. And you say, this is my intention. My intention is to become a millionaire. That's my intention by December 2015. And you write the story of you living as a millionaire, and then you start to write your affirmations. Each day, I'm getting closer and closer to becoming a millionaire. Each day, I'm getting closer and closer to becoming, or each day, I increase my salary by $100. I don't know, whatever it may be. And that's what you repeat. Repetition is the key. But before we get to repetition, you write it, you affirm it, and then you say it. That's it. Pretty simple, but pretty powerful.
Very powerful. But I think one of the things because I think people understand about writing it and affirming it and saying it, but the other part is the coding that you're sending your subconscious mind. You want to write it in such a way where the subconscious mind won't be saying, no, you're not. No, you can't. But instead, I like that each day you're moving towards, something that's positive. And as you said, my subconscious mind is like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So that is such a key learning right there. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. If there was anything in particular that you wanted our listeners to walk away with today, what would that be?
I would say that the most important thing that any person can do right now is to get their pen and paper out. If there is one limitation that is really holding you back, you feel stuck, it's frustrating you, it makes you cry every day because you just cannot cope, get that pen and paper. Write out why when you acquired a belief around that situation that you're